Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're going to be talking about the death of Diamond, maybe? The death of comics? Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I am your host, Brent. I shouldn't say always because some times have guest videos, but I wanted to talk today. This is April 1st, 2020. This is the first Wednesday in a long time that there have been no new comics shipped out to comic shops or digital retailers. So we're going to kind of talk about all that and speculate and talk off the cuff about what is going on during the COVID-19 crisis. So here's what the deal is. If you're watching this in the future, there was this thing called the coronavirus that made everybody stay home and did get a lot of people sick. Now, it is currently April 1st, 2020, and I don't have the figures in front of me, but I do know that at this point in time, the U.S. has over 4,000 deaths from this virus and has the most confirmed cases worldwide so far. So we've broken the records. Yay, go team. But we are under a stay-at-home order here at Florida and other states around the country. It's probably going to be nationwide here shortly as the numbers continue to rise. So go Google it, whatever. But if you're here in the present, you know what's going on, right? So just to keep our mind off all the other craziness, we're going to talk about something much, much smaller, but does affect a small, important group of people that we know. Because if you're watching this channel, you're a comics fan. And if you're a comics fan, then you probably have a local retailer you support. Or you have a favorite writer, a favorite artist, favorite editor, favorite YouTube comics commentator like me that, I don't know, I'm not going to be out of a job. This is my job, it's my hobby, and I love doing this for you guys. But this is the first Wednesday that there have been no new comics shipped in a long, long time. I don't know the record or whatever, I guess. The first Wednesday I can remember, basically, where you had... So basically, here's what's going down, is that a lot of states are under stay-at-home orders. Some states aren't, and maybe some individual counties are, and what that means is the government, whether it's your, not the federal so far, but your state government or your local county or city government, told everybody to stay at home. Businesses should close up shop unless you're an essential business, which is like, the grocery store, maybe a restaurant. You can still do takeout orders, even though some restaurants are still closing. So a lot of small businesses right now don't fall into that category. My wife is a small business owner. Her shop is closed. So we are struggling a little bit under this. So this affects us. So we know a little bit about how it feels to be a small business owner, I guess. Comic shops are also small businesses. I mean, most of them probably do constitute that small business thing, whereas, under the U.S., it's kind of weird. This will sound weird, but you're defined as small business if you are a business entity with under 500 employees. 500. You think that's a large number, you're like, my flower shop or comic shop is way less than that. And I would think a bigger comic shop chain, like in Orlando, we have Coliseum Comics. There's a chain, there are a couple stores around the state here with that name. They are probably still considered a small business because they have under 500 employees. So they're all affected. So basically, all those companies are closed, not allowed to do business, and they'll get fined if they're still doing business, as in they have their shops open, people coming in and out. The reason they don't want them to do that is they don't want anybody to spread the virus, right? So if everybody stays home, the idea is the spread gets stopped. So because of this, last week, Diamond said, we're not going to ship any comics on April 1st. So there will be no new comic shipments. So basically all around the country now, everybody's under the same state of affairs. Whereas like comic shops in New York, they probably were getting shipments because Diamond was still shipping stuff, even though they couldn't maybe sell them with walk-in customers and stuff. They probably had to do phone orders or curbside pickup or mail orders and stuff like that. A lot of shops have been doing that the past couple weeks to try and get by. But now you have the new status quo where it's like every comic shop wherever you are around the country does not have new comics. Why is this a big deal? Because most comic shops exist to sell you new comics. This is where people come in, repeat customers, week after week after week. Weekly warriors. You come in every Wednesday in the early in the morning, on lunchtime, after work, or in the evening to pick up that week's stack of books. And that could be anywhere between, this day and age with $3.99, it's probably $20 a sale upwards to $50 a sale, on average. And then you have the guys who buy everything, and that's $100 a sale. But think about that type of income times, I don't know how big your pull list people are, 30, 50 people, So you take that range and then multiply it out, and then that's how much business that shop is doing on a week. And then, on a regular Wednesday. And then you kind of, take a portion of that, spread it out, because some people don't come in all the time, or they might come in only on Thursdays, whatever, depending what their schedule allows. And that's that shop's income for the week. And now multiply that times a month, and then 2 months, 3 months, whatever, and then figure out how much employees get paid, and then how much rent is on their storefront shop. It's a lot of money, and you got to have that money coming in through the door so you can keep your business open. And if you don't have that money coming in through the door with that new product, that's what your grocery store sells, is new product, new produce to you. You can't keep your business open. And so a lot of comic shops are probably scrambling right now. So if you've got a comic shop, I hope you have reached out to that store owner, that guy that you always see there every Wednesday. You probably know who the owner is or the boss. Reach out to them on social media. Ask what you can do to help keep them afloat if you've got the change to spare. So we only recently figured this out, that there was going to be nothing available. As of yesterday, they were still going to push some digital comics. Like DC had not yet said that they were going to not put digital comics online on Comixology. And everybody was kind of shitting on them for a while, even though Marvel was still going to put stuff out. But as of late last night, early this morning, it was very clear that because Diamond wasn't shipping anything, DC said, and Marvel also agreed to the stipulation that they shouldn't put anything out on digital, Amazon, Kindle, iTunes, Comixology either, so that basically to save the comics industry in itself, they weren't going to cannibalize themselves. So why is this significant? Why is no digital book significant? Well, it is significant because your shop owner is probably not wanting you to go and pick up your books on an iPad. They want you to come in for the physical book. Now this is a trade, it's not a floppy. I don't have very many floppies as examples. But they want you to come in and get the physical book because that supports them. Whereas if you go through digital, you're not really supporting them because Comixology stopped the shop thing where they were giving 10% of all their sales if you went through a portal, as of a year ago. I was supporting DCB Service. That was the shop I'd used before I'd gone all digital, doing mail order stuff. But all that's gone away now, so it doesn't matter. So anything digital doesn't support your local shop. So they did not want readers to go, oh, well, that new issue of Batman is out today. It's a Punchline issue. I want to go read that. Or, what the Empire Zero was supposed to come out today on Wednesday. I want to go read that because Bleeding Cool's talking about it, or Newsarama's got a spoiler article up, and people are talking about it in the comment sections and stuff. So they didn't want you to be able to go out and get your new comic fix because then you would maybe, I guess potentially, and that's the fear here, is that you would become like me and go all digital. I've been all digital since 2011. I haven't looked back since, so I'm a bit of a hypocrite about the importance of saving comic shops, I guess you would say. I originally started out reading on this, not this particular one, this is the iPad Air first edition, but an iPad 2, then I upgraded to this. So this screen is smaller than your regular size trade paperback. So just think about that. It's a bit less reading experience, but the colors are pretty good on here. I did recently upgrade from the iPad Air to what's called the iPad Air 2. And this is a much bigger, a little bit bigger device, but a much bigger screen. So it's a smidge bigger, but you can tell the screen is way bigger there. So that makes it a better reading experience for an iPad anyway. Is it the same size as the book? No. It's a smidge smaller, but I have good eyesight, so it helps. But that's what I've been doing the last almost 10 years. I'm not saying you should, because we still want the comics industry to survive. But it's pretty clear that this COVID-19 stuff is going to change the way we look at life. I mean, you've been living at home for a week or two now, probably. You've been watching everything on Netflix. Maybe you were like me and rented Bloodshot or bought Bloodshot for $20 and watched it and went, I totally didn't need to go to the theater to see that, or my 4K TV setup's just as good as the theater, and if I can get the quiet of my own home and be able to pause and pee and stuff, maybe I don't need to go to a theater. We'll see what happens when all these movies come out. I mean, Onward's coming to Disney Plus on Friday. It's already available to go out. It was out in theaters like 4 weeks ago. So I think there's going to be a really big shift to not going out, especially because of the fear that this has created now. And we don't know if it's going to be whenever they let us out, I guess, as if we're prisoners. We don't know if that virus is still going to be around whenever they do say it, right? You could still catch it, probably when we get on the back end of the curve. So it's a big if. And, so they're trying to keep all small businesses afloat right now, not just comic shops, but comic shop owners were getting really upset and probably really hurt that they're supposedly their partners, right? Marvel and DC and Image, we're going to put out, not Image, but Marvel and DC, we're going to put books on sale digitally, and almost probably feel like they were being undercut because their customers could go get their product elsewhere when they couldn't get it from them. And that's the real problem. You can always go digital. You can always go and pick up a book if your shop is out. You can go pick it up on Comixology. They'll always have it. It's digital, right? But if you're a weekly warrior, that's not your habit. You want that physical edition in your hand. You want that collection. You want to smell the paper, and you want to put it in that Mylar bag, and you want to put it in your short box or long box, and you love organizing your collection and keeping track of it, or maybe you just like the way it feels in your hands. You don't want that digital experience probably. But if you had to get your fix, right, you might read one comic digitally, and then the next week it might be 2, and next week it might be 3, and then you know what, this isn't so bad if I'm reading them on my big super wide monitor and I can zoom in and out and I can sit upright and I don't have to fuss with bags and boards and I don't have to worry about crinkling the spine or whatever, or oh wow, this is kind of easy. Or, oh, look over here. Comixology has a bunch of sales all the time where there are $5 trades, $5 collections. When's the last time you've seen a collection at your comic shop go for $5? Never, right? They're not able to sell them at that price. They got to stay in business. They got rent and employees and bills to pay. They got to keep the lights on. So there's upsides and downsides, and the comic shop owners did not want you to see the upsides, I guess, while their downside was way down or way high, I guess, however that analogy works. But while their downside outweighed, the benefits of going digital, because you don't even have the option to go support your local businesses because you're not allowed. They're closed. They're not offering comics, and especially they're not offering comics if Diamond, which is the distributing company that pushes out all these floppies in North America, I'm not sure about Canada, US anyway, is not shipping any product. And then the other day I saw online that Diamond said they weren't going to pay their vendors either. So they're not paying publishers. They're not paying Marvel. They're not paying DC. So that kind of shows you how much of a cash flow business comic shops are and Diamond is as a distributor, that they don't have a bunch of savings. They might be a month-to-month company. And that's scary, right? That is really scary for our hobby, for our writers and artists that we love, for our creators, for our comic shop owners, and for us as readers as well. Because if Diamond goes out of business, who's going to distribute the floppies? And if you got nobody to distribute the floppies to the comic stores, then are Marvel and DC going to go out of business? That Warner Brothers and Disney are looking down their publishing pipelines to the itty-bitty little entities that are Marvel and DC publishing. Because they're only making, I don't know, $100 million a year. Who knows? I don't know what the exact figures are, but you buy a comic book for $3.99 or $4.99. Probably a third of it goes to the comic shop, right? And that's the little piece of that pie that they keep. Another slice of that goes to Diamond for distributing it, right? Another slice of then that slice goes to Marvel and DC. Then that slice gets pushed out to the editors and the writers and artists, some of them who are staff or exclusive or freelancers, whatever. And then maybe an itty-bitty piece of that might be called profit, right? So we're talking more revenue than profit, really, because if you really look at the charts, the Batman issue, or I don't know what issue specifically, but Batman is like what everything is measured against on the top 100 chart or 300 of Diamond, is any issue of Batman in a given month, which is why Batman must always have a comic in a month. They will ship that no matter what, because they want to be that measuring stick, right? But best-selling comics now only sell 100,000 comics a month of that issue, or 130,000. So if you spread that out, people are buying multiple books, sure. So there's not 100 here, 100 here, 100 here. It's more like probably 200,000 comic fans that are buying these books week to week, maybe. And that's not a big piece of pie when you have 300 million of Americans that are able to buy comics, I guess, the entire U.S. population. There are more people that play video games than there are that read comics. So you have to realize that, this crisis is a crisis for the entire country, but it's also going to become a crisis to get out of when we get to that backside, when small businesses are going to try and open their doors again. Because the question is, will there be any comic shops? Will Diamond still be around? Are they going to have to declare bankruptcy? So what happens to the distribution channel that way? Writers and artists are looking for work. Are they still getting paid? They do what they do for the love of the art, not because it pays a lot of money. Some of them have found success that way and found ways to get it to pay them a lot of money, but that's only after years and years of work. So pay attention, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Pay attention to what's happening to the comics industry during this time, when we start to see the end here, and figure out a way to support your local small business, I guess, is the main thrust of it. Because if you love Batman, Superman, The Walking Dead, the Black Label books, if you love Birthright is a great book from Image you should be supporting. If you love those types of things, if you love comics, then you need to figure out how to support your small business now during the crisis, to help these guys stay afloat at least a little bit, and then especially when we come out on the other side. Because if you like the continuing adventures of these characters, if you're a weekly warrior and you love that fix, then you can't forget the guys that give you that fix, from your small business owner comic shop to your distributor Diamond, to your Marvel and DC, to your creators, all that stuff. So it's an interesting time for sure. And it's an interesting time for comics, I guess. So that's the bad news. I hope there's good news in the future. You guys stay out there, stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, all that stuff. And we'll see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.